Hello everyone and welcome to another random video on the internet. Today we are talking about a titanic matchup, quite literally, as today the heavyweight champion of the MCU, Thanos the Titan, brings his army to invade the world of One Punch Man, and the strongest heroes on the planet, the S-Class, stand ready for his arrival, ready to fight until their last breath. Can they save the world, or will the Titan crush them? Today we find out. For this matchup, Thanos and his army arrive to Earth instead of the alien conqueror Boros. The entire S-Class aside from Blast is present and comes out to battle. We'll do 3 rounds. In the first, Thanos will be as he was in Avengers Endgame, no Infinity Stones. In the second, he'll be equipped with all the stones he had in Infinity War throughout the Titan fight. And lastly, Thanos will possess all 6 stones in the third round. And if Thanos at any point manages to wipe out the regular S-Class, Blast will arrive to fight him for the fate of Earth as a last resort bonus round. And, with the rules established, let's get straight into the matchup. In the first round, Thanos is packing only his physical strength, durability, speed, skill, IQ, all that good stuff. But that is nothing to scoff at, as even without the stones, the Titan has proved himself to be a top-tier combatant within the MCU. Physically overpowering the Hulk, dismantling a team of Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America with Thor's hammer all at once, physically with his bare hands ripping apart Iron Man's suit in Infinity War, playing tug-of-war with Captain Marvel, and managing to overpower her leg with a severely weakened arm after using the Infinity Stones. And for reference, our muscles are generally considered to be around 4 times weaker than leg muscles, so this is multiple nerfs and he's still overpowering her surprise attack before the other Avengers join in on the jumping. Thanos pretty blatantly scales to or above most top-tier MCU characters on a physical level, but how strong does that make him? Well, we have several calcs for Iron Man tanking one of the fragments of Titan's moon being flung at him with island-level force, and of course Thanos dismantles this very same Iron Man minutes later. He also bodies Thor multiple times, who can withstand the concentrated energy of a neutron star. However, as many have pointed out, the amount of energy stars can output doesn't come anywhere near close to the amount of energy it takes to actually destroy a star. And this feat usually comes out to around large island level whenever it's calculated. Thanos also easily crushes the Tesseract, which has been estimated to be a large country level feat. Now when it comes to statements, we can actually get Thanos a lot higher, as the energy surge from simply equipping the Infinity Gauntlet is stated to be able to light up a continent, and Thanos tanks this. Lighting up a continent can be interpreted as destroying it, and if you want to go that route, you can get Thanos' durability to continental. But that's not all either, as Rocket Raccoon states that the energy from simply using the Infinity Gauntlet is beyond his own Hydron Enforcer, which he states can blow up moons. Taking that at face value, we can get Thanos all the way up to moon level with his physicals. It may seem like a bit of a high end, but bear with me, it makes the topic a lot more interesting if we do use this. There are some higher end estimations for Thanos, and I will talk about those at the end of the video, but for me personally this seems like the most fair way to scale him, as there are plenty of contradictions that would contradict the super high end feats, which we will get to. Now for speed, the MCU is famously inconsistent, from getting tagged by bullets sometimes to consistently getting tagged by lightning, to reacting to beams stated to be made of photons, to traveling across stars at massively faster than light speeds. You can argue the lightning is magical and faster than usual, but there's kind of not too much evidence for this, and the guns point is still pretty weird. Many Avengers who are somewhat mid-tier still use guns. And Quicksilver, who is portrayed as an absolute speed demon compared to even the Avengers themselves, gets tagged by bullets. Granted, he was distracted, but come on, I mean, if he just moved like hundreds of billions of times faster than light, you'd think the bullets would just be frozen as he runs, like regardless of whether he's distracted or not. However, on the opposite side, we have Spider-Man dodging Electro's electricity and multiple other high-end feats. For this video, we shall go with the higher end and say the relativistic showings of blocking photon beams and reacting to Captain Marvel in the Earth's atmosphere are valid, placing Thanos at relativistic or maybe slightly faster than light. However, I will say for me, the verse is way too inconsistent to place them at massively faster than light levels in my eyes. I once made that mistake with Invincible and I do not intend to repeat it again. So that is how strong Thanos is. But he also has his army on top of himself, with Cull Obsidian and Ebony Maw being capable of throwing hands with high-tier Avengers like Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and the Hulkbuster armor. On top of that, he has thousands of Chitauri, I don't know if I'm saying that right, I'm sorry, and Outriders, many Leviathans, hundreds of aircraft and land vehicles, and other creatures, all of which can give lower tier Avengers a hard time, especially in large enough numbers. And of course, the massive ship, which is capable of raining down bombardments. That is the power of the Great Titan and his army, without any Infinity Stones. When it comes to scaling the S-Class heroes, there are two ways to scale the lower to high middle end heroes. Lowballed, most of them should scale to around mountain to island level, going off of various calcs for monsters like Goketsu, Overgrown Rover, and Homeless Emperor, splitting clouds, causing earthquakes, or carving canyons respectively. However, on the higher end, heroes like Bang, Flashy Flash, Darkshine, and Atomic Samurai can be downscaled from beings like Orochi and Sage Centipede, who are both consistently calculated at small planet level. The heroes don't scale to these guys, but they aren't billions upon billions of times weaker than them either. Using the amount of power-ups Garo gets between fighting these two and fighting Sage Centipede, you can still get Bang, Flash, and others to the high-end ranges of multi-continental in attack potency. Not saying that they can blow up continents, just that they can tango with guys who can blow up continents and damage them. Attack potency versus destructive capacity, that kind of thing. However, there are certain heroes who leave this tier of power in the dust. Metal Bat, when fully pumped up, can actually damage Sage Centipede's carapace, placing him at small planetary, since the carapace can withstand Sage's charges without falling apart. Meanwhile, Genos in his 10-second mode and Tatsumaki can go band for band with Psychos Orochi, a fusion of the Monster King Orochi, who already has small planetary calculations with just the sucking force of his tail, a powerful Esper Psychos who is comparable to this Monster King suppressed state, and a boost from God. Literally, One Punch Man's version of God. Through various statements and a scaling chain which you can see in this video, Psychos Orochi easily reaches the planetary tier of power. And Genos can fight her evenly for 10 seconds, and Tatsumaki, while fatigued, can one-shot her. This isn't all, we'll cover more when we need to, but for now, this is, I think, more than enough. And again, if you want a more detailed explanation, I would highly recommend checking out this video right here on the screen right now. It will be linked in the description and the pinned comment. I just don't want to waste time by retreading the same ground all over again. As for their speed, there are a few inconsistencies, like Watchdog Man's travel speed, which is absolutely pathetic, being regarded as fast, as well as a couple really out of place speed of sound statements. However, generally the S-Class heroes can casually scale above lightning speed, and we have early series characters like Genos dodging laser beams, which are specifically called out to be light, as well as monsters claiming they can dodge light speed attacks with precognition, getting murder blitzed by casual suppressed Orochi. Then we have Atomic Samurai slicing those same light beams from earlier while suppressed, and so on. The mid to high-end S-Class can easily be scaled to light speed and higher, and if you have no problems placing the MCU at light speed, then it's only fair to give One Punch Man the same treatment. Getting to the battle now, I think it's clear that the heroes do have the edge here. One important thing to consider is that in this scenario, Thanos arrives in place of Boros, and his ship simply does not have the capacity to level all of City A, so the heroes will have to fight while worrying about the civilians and the collateral damage, which will definitely hinder them. However, all the heroes will be capable of fighting off many of the grunts of the army, with high tiers like Darkshine, Atomic, Flashy Flash, and Bang killing them by the hundreds by themselves. Bringing down Leviathans will probably be left up to flyers like Genos and Metal Knight, and Tatsumaki will be tasked with taking down the ship. Bombardments from the ship will be rendered completely useless, as Tatsumaki could easily catch and deflect the artillery back of the ship. We already saw her do the very same thing to the far more destructive artillery of the Boros ship, and there is no reason that she couldn't do the same here. We've also seen Tatsumaki twist city-size areas and combat a being capable of slicing continents by simply grazing the earth, so to crush the ship would be child's play. The Black Order, specifically Ebony Maul... The autocorrect corrected his name to Ebony Maul. Welcome to Ebony Mall, everybody! Have a nice shopping experience! The Black Order, specifically Ebony Maw and Collapsidian, would be problematic for lower and middle-end heroes, but the Big Four, or Metal Bat if he gets the chance to pump up, should be able to go toe-to-toe with them and possibly win, or at the very least hold them off long enough for Genos or Tatsumaki to finish the job. And Thanos himself, while likely too strong to be stopped by anyone other than those two, is still susceptible to dying at the hands of Genos in his 10-second mode, or Tatsumaki. It would honestly be similar to what Scarlet Witch did to him, but way worse. So for the first round, victory goes to the S-Class. Starting off the second round, let's cover Thanos in the Titan fight. He now has access to the Infinity Gauntlet and the Space Stone, the Power Stone, the Reality Stone, and the Soul Stone. Most prevalent when it comes to raw power output is of course the Power Stone, which was shown to be capable of obliterating entire planets on screen. And in one of his most impressive displays of strength, Thanos ruptured and threw a moon at the Avengers with it, which has been calculated all the way up to large planet level pretty consistently. With this, Thanos does seem to possess more power than even the likes of Tatsumaki. But first of all, this feat of throwing the moon is a bit funky, as while Thanos breaking the moon apart is impressive, the thing that actually gets this feat so high is the assumption that he threw the entire celestial body at near light speed. There are just a couple problems with that. Firstly, Thanos did not actually throw the entire moon, just chunks of it. Otherwise, we would have seen an incredible amount of debris cover the battlefield and crush everybody. But obviously the amount of rock that arrives to Titan is nowhere near moon levels of matter. There is just no way. You can clearly see that it's not an entire moon's worth of space rubble. So Thanos only actually threw a small chunk of the moon. And secondly, you can actually see what appears to be the Space Stone teleporting the moon's rubble closer to Titan's surface. The blue energy usually indicates the Space Stone is in play, so as much as I would like to call Thanos large planetary here, I don't think I honestly can. Still, the Power Stone is shown and implied to be a planetary force, and Thanos can wield its power. Even better, it has been stated that the stones empower each other, so he might still be higher than just baseline planetary. On top of that, Thanos has some incredible hacks abilities, like turning things intangible, turning people to whatever matter he wants, including bubbles or jelly, and so on. I think it's clear that this Thanos does beat most of the S-Class handily. However, Tatsumaki still stands as a formidable challenger, being planetary herself. Except, we actually know that she very likely scales higher. As established before, Sairochi, just using statements and basic scaling, is actually so many levels above Orochi that she's already legible to be considered a high planetary threat. However, there are a couple of things I've yet to mention. Firstly, and this is just something that I would like to point out, don't take this as my main argument or anything, but in some languages of the One Punch Man manga, specifically in the official Vietnamese volume release, there's actually a statement floating around that Sairochi is hundreds of thousands of times stronger than Orochi. Mind you, the method I used earlier had Sairochi only being a couple hundred times above Orochi's small planetary suck, but I totally get not using this. This is only for certain languages and releases. It's not in the official English or Japanese versions of the manga, but it is still official material by Shueisha and Shonen Jump. It's not just coming out of nowhere, so I did want to mention it as a bit of a fun fact. But ignoring that, Sairochi is still a high planet level combatant regardless, and Tatsumaki still one-shots her, edging her into the large planetary tiers of power while massively fatigued and greatly injured due to having to hold back her power constantly. And then here's the crazy part, we actually have a pretty exact way to measure just how weakened she was here. Tatsumaki later goes on to fight Saitama, and Fubuki, who witnessed the entire Sairochi battle on the surface from start to brutal finish and felt her sister's full power output back then, sees Tatsumaki using her psychic abilities on Saitama and remarks that Saitama is taking her full power head on. Reminder, she has sensed Tatsumaki's full output from the Sairochi fight, and she now thinks Tatsumaki is going all out here. So logically, Tatsumaki should be outputting this same amount of energy as she did when destroying Sairochi. Then Tatsumaki outmatches this power with a flick, saying that if she ups her power just a bit, Saitama, who just withstood the power that one-shot Sairochi, might not die. So here we have a healthy Tatsumaki outmatching her fatigued full power with just a casual flick, and obviously her actual full power would be massively above this, and she's not even close to going all out at this point in the fight. So now we have Tatsumaki, while healthy, being this massively above her fatigued self, who is already in the large planetary tier power. With the scaling in mind, Tatsumaki still holds an enormous gap in power over Thanos, and she is also faster since the light speed only accounts for low tier characters like early series Genos. Even people way slower than Tatsumaki at her best, like suppressed atomic samurai, casually have 4 times faster than light calculations. On top of that, Thanos needs to close his hand to use the Infinity Stones, and his grip strength is still all the way down at moon level, so if Tatsumaki grabs a hold of him, he shouldn't be able to use his insane hex abilities at all. Overall, Thanos does stand a good chance if he instantly goes for the win and Tatsumaki's acting cocky. However, if anything, it's way more in character for Tatsumaki to be the one to open up with an instant one-shot, as that's what she pretty much always does unless she needs to get information from the enemy or is really pissed at them and wants to make them suffer. So overall, I would still give the win to the S-Class in the second round, mainly thanks to Tatsumaki. Finally, in the third round, Thanos, with all 6 Infinity Stones, blatantly says he'll dismantle the universe down to its last atom and rebuild it. There's really no reason to doubt this statement, as it's the entire plot of the movie and the Gauntlet's lore supports this. In this match, Thanos has an insane power advantage. However, the issue of his physical body not being anywhere near this strong and not being as fast as Tatsumaki still remains. It's a race to who pulls the trigger on their instant win card first, and Tatsumaki still has higher reaction time and is more likely to kill immediately. It's a close matchup, it's like, you know, the cowboy standoffs of the Old West, but I do think Tatsumaki is more likely to win, despite being vastly inferior in raw power output and hacks. Onto the bonus match with Blast, it's honestly more of the same, except the speed gap is even more insane this time around. If Blast doesn't go for the kill, he can be snapped away, but more likely than not, the speed factor should give him the victory. Lastly, I want to discuss the higher end metas for Thanos. I am aware there are a few crazy high calcs and statements for the MCU outside of the movies, like novelizations or guides. I am aware of that. In the movies themselves, there's also a really weird showing with Thor's ship potentially being calculated to have galaxy-level durability via going through, like, the devil's anus, or what? Yeah, via going through that. Like, if I can say that on YouTube, please don't demonetize me, I suppose. But, this is supposedly galaxy-level, but then at the same time, later in the same movie, which is Thor Ragnarok, by the way, it gets pierced through by these spikes from Hela, and then regular, explicitly human machine guns shatter the same spike that just pierced a galaxy-level ship's hull to bits. Human machine guns are galaxy-level in the MCU seems a little bit unlikely. And similar argumentation goes for a lot of the higher-end interpretations for me. They just don't seem to match what we see in the movies. I will agree if you do take these statements as they are and accept them, then yeah, Thanos' performance improves dramatically. But overall, I just don't see it as being very consistent with what has been shown to us in these movies, like Captain America still getting hurt by gunshots and then tangling with Thanos, and, you know, he's way weaker, of course he's way weaker, but he's not like trillions upon billions, millions of times weaker, you know, like, it's not the difference between like a Galaxy Buster and a Bullet level character. And I'm not saying they're Bullet level either, I'm just saying like it's really weird and inconsistent, and it's just like, it's kind of weird for me to give this universe this insanely high interpretation when we have a lot of showings that contradict it. And One Punch Man does have some contradictions as well, but it's not nearly as many, especially since a lot of them have actually been redrawn. Like for example, pretty recently there was like an infamous speed of sound statement and then it got erased, it got redrawn, like it's no longer canon. So it just has a lot less contradictions and a lot more like lore and feats that could put it in this planetary range. Whereas I don't think the multi-galaxy level meta holds up for the MCU. I don't know, I just don't feel comfortable giving them this insane of a scale, but if you do, then yeah, Thanos just mops the floor with everybody except Blast, and Blast is a good debate. So all in all, I do believe that the S-Class heroes could stop an invasion from Thanos more likely than not in all of these scenarios, unless Thanos with the stones never arrives to the battlefield and just snaps while hiding away in a ship or something. Like yeah, I could see Thanos winning with all the stones if he just stayed in a ship and snapped his fingers while the S-Class wasn't even aware he existed, but that seems like a bit of a cop-out answer. And with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Is the multi-galaxy or like multi-star level MCU valid or not? I am curious to hear that. And with nothing else to say, I wish you a great rest of your day. Goodbye.